Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Fall 2023 MEC. I'm Ashkan, joined by the wonderful Tucker, and today we got two awesome teams, Cleveland State versus Clarke University. This is going to be an awesome best of three that we are looking at from the lower bracket. These teams are fighting their way upwards, trying to get their way to the grand finals, and Tucker, it's not just these two. We're going to have another set of casters later on today, but for our series, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to, well, first of all, a good match. We're in the lower bracket quarterfinals. Things are starting to get really interesting. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, a couple of streams ago, Cliff took the quote-unquote upset over Clarke University in a 2-1 nail-biter of a matchup, which put them into the upper finals. One more match, and they are going to be in the grand finals. Unfortunately for them, they got to go through the Polar Bears, ONU, the top dogs of the top pack throughout the entire MEC season. And surprisingly, sending Clarke down a little early. They have a tough task in the CSU Vikings, but of course, Clarke has been the second to top dog for a long time. So they're slanted to win this game, but the Vikings are absolutely determined.
Well, let's bring it right on back over to tonight's series, and let's go ahead and take a look at these rosters, Tucker, just to see who's playing today. And Cleveland State, they're going to be rocking Fode, Revi, Marvel, Lime, and Sully. And then in the other side, of course, we have Soup, Zerona, Fade, Ain, and Kang. So we are familiar with these players. We know who to look out for. On the CSU side, I'm looking at Revi and Marvel. When it comes to the people who are going to be throwing out utility, and Sully has made a name for themselves as well. But when it comes to CU, well, you can't really count out any of the players. Not that I was counting out anyone on CSU, respect to all the players. But Zerona and Kang come to note for me. I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table today, because again, it is a lower bracket. You don't get other chances after this series. Once you're done, it is over. And
little sneak peek at the Friday play of the day. We're back at the rosters, and like you said, these 10 players are incredibly phenomenal. That play of the day was Soup. So yeah, you might have seen them before. They're a good player. They make some crazy plays. They are ultimately the flashiest of the bunch of the CU side. And the maps today are going to be a little bit interesting. We don't just get the complete boring bunch. We got a couple of other maps loaded in. I know the first map's going to be Lotus. Let's send it up on screen. Let's see where we're going, Ashcombe. Why don't we? We get Breeze, which is one we don't get to see too much of. It's Lotus, Ascent, Breeze. Haven's completely gone. We don't get a Haven.
I mean, Lotus and Haven, they're like cousins in spirit, right? They're related. They're the only 2-3 mapped sites, and I'm excited. I do wish we could see a little bit more Sunset, but we'll get there eventually. I think that when it comes to Lotus, you mentioned this last week, Tucker, and it's one of the most attacker-sided maps in the map pool, and you said it was the only attacker-sided map in the map pool, and you're correct. I'm looking at the data right now, and according to Run It Back, as of patch 7.08, I know it's patch 7.09, guys, but it's only been a few days. As of patch 7.08, Lotus is 54.5% in favor of the attackers, and it's the only one that favors the attackers, exactly like you said. So you're the man. You just know what you're talking about, Tucker.
And let's also talk about Ascent. We go straight from the most attacker side of map to the most defender side of map in the game statistically. I get my stats from a little bit of a different source, but I mean, it's still a very similar ending. It's the right math problem and the right math answer, but you use the wrong method. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. And then we go to Breeze, a map we have not seen too much throughout the season, but I'm excited to see. It's very long range. We're going to see some crazy aim duels. You have to have your on-point aim with the Vandal or the Phantom or the Op if you choose to use it. If you want to succeed on this map, it's one of those maps where you truly need to have good aim. Like, you could have the best utility in the world, but if you don't have any aim to back it up, you're probably going to lose.
That is fair enough. And without further ado, Tucker, we're going to go ahead and get right into this first map of Lotus. And I'm looking forward to the comps that people are playing, unlike Ascent, right, where the composition has been pretty much set in stone. Lotus has been a lot more experimental as the meta shifts and changes, and with the patch notes, which, speaking of, there have been some huge changes to some of our Sentinels, particularly Cypher.
Nearly everyone on the attackers are locked in, except for Fade just chilling out on that KJ. That is a pick I definitely like. We see the double controller, which has been a staple throughout the season here at MEC and here especially on Lotus, because, I mean, there's just so much space that needs to be blocked off. It's really difficult to play this map without a second controller. Viper is pretty much set in stone. If you're not playing Viper, you're pretty much throwing. But it's kind of been flip-flop between Astra and Omen being that second controller pick, with preferably, I like Astra a little more, but Omen is second to top dog. And as I say that, CSU, they only go with one controller.
Choose your agent.
Yeah, not having a wall smoker can be a bit difficult, but Omen has been the key that everyone settled on. I remember initially Viper was definitely a must-have, especially because teams like Fnatic were advocating for her so strongly. But now that teams want to fight for the A main space while on the defense, well, Paranoia is just the best piece of utility to do the job. I mean, soon, if teams begin to adopt ISO, I think his Q is going to be a bit more effective, but we'll see. And as the teams load in, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of this Breach. He's been kind of swaying back and forth when it comes to picks, Tucker. We've seen him come into the meta and then immediately shift out, and he hasn't seemingly found his spot in the way that every other initiator has at least had an entire act to sit in the spotlight.
You know, I just cannot stop thinking, how is this single controller composition going to affect Cleveland State's performance? That's really what I am trying to figure out, considering that there's been so many of these teams. I don't believe we have seen a single controller composition on Lotus just yet, and here comes the Vikings bringing it out in their last chance of the map, of the whole series, of the tournament. Of the series, I meant.
Oh man, it is chaos on B right now, Tucker, as we see fights breaking out. 2 are down, make it 3 for the side of the defense. Lime trying to fight for their life, but it's not going to work out for him. Sully, the last one in a 1v5, and this is a tough way to start the map, but on the bright side, it's also the start of the map.
Start of the match, start of the map. There's still a long way to go. It will be a flawless for Clarke University, so I mean, hey, best case scenario right off the bat. And to be fair, that is expected. It's Lotus, it's attacker-sided, and it's the pistol round. They push and B. There's not really much that you can do to get them off of that site or keep them off of that site. If you wanted to try the retake, you could, but there was only one player alive, and that was the KJ. I feel like if you want the retake to become reality, you need a little bit more than just a KJ, but that's neither here nor there. First round goes to Clarke University, and in comes the anti-eco, with CSU sticking with all pistols.
Yeah, and I mean, in their defense, you know, it is first round, so none of their agents are going to have the complete kit. This time around, maybe they can invest a little bit more, but this is a bold move to go B on your anti-eco when you know that you've won the first round. So I'm waiting to see how Clarke University wants to navigate, and it is a feint. It is a fake. They're going to see through the door.
There it is. Only KJ is met up on it, and the classic, it's good for a free gun, but there is so much more money involved in the Clarke University push. Right-click classic, able to grab one, but is immediately traded out by Soup. Down goes your duelist. It's a 4 versus 3 retake, favoring the attacker's side. Zerona makes it a bit harder for Cleveland State University. Takes down the smoke. There goes one more, and one no more. Bites the dust. Ain has a headshot on their Sky counterpart.
Bomb grenade out.
Taking a look at the money, look at the credits, and Cleveland State, okay, they're buying up. They're gonna have a couple of light shields, which is gonna hurt. You definitely, on a long range map like this, you don't want to be vulnerable to a phantom. So you got to take your time and, you know, save up the cash for those rounds. You got to keep them in mind. For now, though, it looks like the fight is going to be brought to the attackers by Cleveland State as well, using that gun advantage. And taking up all that space is definitely a good move.
Cleveland State wants to make this push as hard as possible for Clarke University, playing a big, aggressive hold. Fortunately, they surrender over the B site, but thankfully for them, B site is the easiest of the bunch to retake. It's a 2-for-1 trade-off before Lime is able to get another one. Needs to use the blast pack to get away is Lime. The snake bite is simply a little too dangerous. Yet another shot from the Ghost of Kang gets a frag. Marvel can't land the shot on the crossing player. They run over to the A site. It's another one-man down scenario on Cleveland State, and both of the remaining players are lower than full. So this could be something that Clarke University uses to their advantage. Unless Sully has a headshot, Kang trades it off though, but leaves Marvel in a very clutchable situation.
Oh, alarm bug goes off. Marvel walking out onto the site.
Watching here.
Needs to break that nano swarm when they can, but as soon as they move to turn to tree, fades into the picture, and that's going to be them. Marvel fading out.
What a bonus round. The anti-bonus round, ever common here in Valorant. I mean, on Lotus attack, it's pretty fair. There's just not much that you can do until you have a solidified attack, until you have a really solid idea, which Cleveland State, they had a foolproof plan on Lotus at the start of the season, and they've abandoned it. I mean, the first time they played on Lotus, they absolutely dominated. I think they lost maybe 2 rounds on defense, which is absolutely insane to think about. And they weren't going against a bad team. I believe it was a team like Miami, Oklahoma, or Miami, Ohio, excuse me. Sorry, it's the closer one. But timeout's called by Cleveland State. I think this is fair, maybe a little early, but in the terms of timeout, you can never be too safe.
I mean, it's definitely a shakeup, right? Over here in the MEC, we have seen a lot of 3-0s, I will say, but it's more than usual. We are not the norm. Our teams fight tooth and nail. So when you lose a round like that, you're expected to win, you're slated to win, and you're supposed to be setting the economy for the course of the half. Dropping that, you know, proves a threat to you, and you have to now recalibrate and readjust to the reality of your situation. And there are ultimates still on the table. There is that for Cleveland State. They just have to plan around them a little bit better. They're getting a lot of space towards the C site over at Mound, so I'm hoping that they can claim that orb for themselves.
Clarke University don't have any ults. I believe they are close to a couple of them, but so far, nothing is online and at the ready. Looks to be another... Yeah, that door gets opened. Gotta be careful of this. Boombot comes out fully able to grab one. Puts the advantage in Cleveland State's hands for now.
Lime satching out, taking a much more defensive position on the A site. As Sully peeks out to find one with that sheriff. Could snowball that into a better weapon for themselves now. And Marvel on the flank, but that's going to be a release of pressure for Clarke University. Their Killjoy is all the way in spawn. Ready to catch some rotators. Can they hit the shots? Fade, landing one, and Fode. Now having to trade, but doesn't go for it. Has to break the turret. This is a pretty decent position for Clarke University, Tucker.
Seeker's coming out as well. There might be a gun on the floor for Cleveland State, but there's still one without one. Flash comes out. It's still the headshot from Lime. Clarke University, they might just mess around to lose this. Get ecoed. Versus 3. KJ and the Rays are still alive. The Skydog is able to find out Fade. Can't land the shot though. It will be the head. Lime goes down. Revy picking out from the site. There's 2 players left. 1 versus 1. Drona just has to play this right. Head is not found. Caps it out. Headshot still not found. Fode needs to stick it, and that will be the round. What a clutch from Drona to keep Clarke University perfect.
I'll tell you what, on top of it, puts that showstopper in their pocket. So they got the opportunity to keep things perfect even further into round 5 with the ultimate and break the economy for Cleveland, or for Clarke once more. And Clarke, they have one off Kang close to that Viper's pit. Their approach
Cover going out.
can be simple. They just gotta win these gunfights, and Soup runs up and gets there first.
Does not help that Cleveland State have no ultimates at the ready. A double kill with the showstopper doesn't help at all. What are you doing, Shrona? Absolute insanity from the Clarke University attack. They look like they pressure B, but they really pushed themselves onto the alpha site with a 2 versus 4 on this retake for Cleveland State
Spike
needed.
planted.
They got the guns. They have a little bit of utility in their pocket. If Sully wants to weigh up for that alarm bot and the turret, they can. But ultimately, for the retake, those are two of the most useless pieces of utility imaginable.
Last player standing.
Oh, Fade just walking slowly across. Drops Marvel. It's a lone Sully, and they've opted to save.
I think that's the right choice. I do not see a KJ clutching the 1 versus 4. If things get too nitty-gritty, Clarke University still has that Viper kit in hand. It's better to just go for the exit frag, which unfortunately Sully is not able to get. The headshot of the sky is simply too small. Bomb goes off. That will be a 5-0 lead now for Clarke University. And honestly, Ashka, I think Cleveland State might have called their timeout too early. They called it on a round where they had nothing to work with, and all of the ideas and steam that they built up from that timeout, maybe the motivational pep talk, was completely gone after they failed on the eco. So we got round 6 underhand. On the hand.
Blinded.
1 ult available for Cleveland State. It is the showstopper, which could theoretically get an ace, but I don't think Cleveland State is going to let themselves get all killed by the same showstopper. And as I am speaking about it, in comes Soup with a headshot over the mound to completely eliminate any threat of a big rocket launcher. C-site forfeited over to Clarke University, as well as the lurk from Fade catching off the smoker.
Spike planted.
Here it is.
CU has complete sight over anything they want to without that omen.
Last player standing.
Oh! Unlucky timing there for Fode. And Sully, once again, we're seeing a whole lot of reruns throughout the MEC season, Tucker. That episode I saw before in round 1, and here it is, the replay on number 7. Or 6, I should say.
Numbers are hard, man.
Numbers are hard. That's why I do like a humanities major.
Exactly. So we got round 7 at the ready. Cleveland State has 4 out of the 5 ultimates online, with Fode's Seekers only 1 orb away. It would not surprise me if Cleveland State just fight tooth and nail for one of these ult orbs and then use all 5 of those ults at the same time to win this round. Because, I mean, you know, it's a very offensive-sided map, but when you have all 5 ultimates being unloaded at the same time, you're probably not going to win that round. That's why you don't get ultimates every single round.
I mean, maybe that would be a fun game mode. Who knows?
That would be amazing.
Yeah, let's give him talks to Riot. But right now, let's talk about how Fade has already picked off 1 and then goes for a 2nd while Soup picks apart a 3rd. So he misses the timing on the walkout from Tree, turns to Ain, and at least gets them. But this Viper breaking their ankles doesn't matter if you can't finish the job. And Sully says to Fade, I see you get 2, and I raise you 1 more. But Soup, partner in crime to Fade, this is going to close out round 7. Actually, round 7 this time.
What an effort from Sully, though. A 1 versus 5 staring back at them, and they're able to grab 3 with ease. Fantastic stuff. Unfortunately for them, they simply don't have quite enough, which is unfortunate, but when you have the entire Clarke University team staring down at you, it's very fair. And now we're in that situation that I was talking about might happen. 5 ultimates online at the ready for the Vikings if they choose to use them. I got a feeling they're all going to get popped at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, rounds are passing quickly, and with these ultimates going unused, I agree with you,
You should run.
Tucker, because at the end of the day, there's only going to be so many chances, and if we're going to keep letting these chances go, there's only going to be one moment in time left to have them be used, and C site's now locked down, completely clear. Cleveland State, they have the opportunity to retake with the Killjoy ult of their own, but Sully not quite in the best position to use it.
Planted.
Advantage already for Clarke University. As well, it's the Viper pick going up. Drona, 1, 2, 3! Catching out Revy, they had an easy kill, and now they're on for the ace! Drona, Vandal in hand, Soup gonna take it away. The headshot from behind on Sully ends that round out, but what in the world is Drona on? They're 13-3, Ashcon!
Everyone talks about how there's a certain expectation of duelists, and I'll tell you what, the only expectation is for them to make space. Girona is doing that and more. 13-3 is nothing to scoff at. And I mean, popping heads left and right to boot. If you're talking about space, they're just not creating space on the site. They're going all the way into the enemy spawn. They said there's no room for Cleveland State to play in.
Out comes double ults. Rolling Thunder, Showstopper, getting brought out. Neither one of the ults are able to get the frag, but Marvel is. Headshot onto Drona, takes down the duelist. Drona has been a menace for Clarke University. They've really been the bane of Cleveland's existence, but now they're done. Cleveland State has an advantage that they might be able to take a round out of it, at least salvage a couple more frags, and maybe get the economy of Clarke University in a bad spot. A headshot of Lime gets the Viper down as well, so that halves their smokes right there.
And there goes the Seekers. Cleveland State needing that information on who, what, and where. And there goes the paint shells to create some spacing over in the default plant. A silent drop while Foe tries to fight, but Ain is not going to let it happen. Off the reload, Lime gets 2. Oh, it's actually Marvel who took out Soup from the angle. Nice little crossfire cooked up. It's a lone Killjoy. And now it's a Killjoy 1v1.
So push that turret out. Oh my! What a clutch! You know, Sully has been so close to getting these clutches for Cleveland State in the past. Now they finally got it, and it puts Clarke University, for the first time this game, on the losing side of a round. It only took 8, but they have got it, and it took every ult on Cleveland State except the End of the Shadows, which is good that Cleveland State won a round, but at the same time, they needed 4 ultimates, and it was still a 1v1 at the end.
And I mean, I'll tell you what, though, I'll give Sully some credit, but also I have a bit of worry in that the timing there. I mean, you saw Fade get out of tree, and, you know, there was no sound cue for Sully to know, but you got to be aware of those timings and those possibilities. And speaking of possibilities, that angle has been known to be in favor of the attackers for quite a while now. So we got to see Cleveland State change up their hold on A. And it looks like the judge is not going to be helping them in iterating their defense in any way.
Drona almost gets caught. Blast packing up onto the drop. Clarke University starting to try to sandwich in these last couple of retakers. Does not work out as well as they wanted it to. Fode starts to push out. Viper's Pit coming out on the side of Clarke University. In comes the Showstopper. Does not quite land. It could have been worse for Clarke University, but it still keeps them away for just a little bit more time. A headshot from Fode comes out as well with a very, very dwindling round on the helm. Sully has to save yet again. Clarke University only dropping 1 round so far this happened. They are at 9 with a possibility to go into the half with a 11-1 lead.
And it's interesting to see these huge gaps as well, because when we take a look at the regular season, Clarke University was up 5-2, Cleveland State 4-3. And That's only a 2 placement differential, with both of these teams a very similar round record as well. 151 round wins to Clarke and 152 round wins to Cleveland State. We're going knee deep into the A site, fighting for the space once again, and that's going to be Marvel doing their job. 3-3. They blinded. Oh, excuse me. They did not. They got their participation over on the B side.
Spike planted.
And as fast as it was a 3 versus 3, it's now a 3 versus 2. Clarke University, and they still have the duelist alive, as well as the flash in the sky and the smoke, which is honestly worst case scenario for Cleveland State.
To dust.
Nice shot. 1 versus 2. Doable situation. Spike's already halfway gone. You don't have full health. Actually, you have 86 and no shield. They've got another headshot that puts them at a 3K. Jumping through the snake bite. They don't clear out the corner, and Kang punishes them. You have to clear out your corners, or else you're going to get shot down. And that's exactly what happened. We go to round 12.
And I'm just being informed as well that the last time these two teams went head-to-head in a best-of-3, they went 24-28 in terms of the round scoring. So with things a little bit closer and Clarke University having won, I'm wondering if Cleveland State can overcome whatever's going on with them. And I mean, there are 2 more maps left to go, potentially. At least 1, that's for sure. The approach here, an aggressive A. Reduce, reuse, recycle. No need to change up the strats if it's working. And Clarke, go ahead and make light work of Lime and Revy.
Saying is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Clarke University has no intent to. Marvel almost gets their head taken off. In the end, they're able to grab the frag, but not after Shrona takes down the Sentinel. It's another shot from Stoop that lands. Another fight, the Omen takes out as well with a headshot to Fode. 3K to end out the round, and a little bit of tactical crouching over the corpse, a bit of BM, but you know, you're up 11-1. I feel like you can get away with it there. Which, by the way, 11-1! I feel like we need to talk about that a little more. This is a 2 seed versus a 4 seed. It's 11-1?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, Tucker. I mean, that's why we were talking about, you know, the last records, because it doesn't make any sense, but it could just be that Lotus isn't Cleveland State's map, right? Again, the second newest, very experimental, comps constantly shifting. Pros don't even know what they want to do on this map. When it comes to collegiate teams, where that's their bread and butter, is just modeling after the tier 1 teams. You're kind of lost in the dark. You're left drowning in the waters. You know, Clarke University has adapted, so kudos to them, but it's not easy. Not easy at all. Cleveland State pushing over towards C, immediately blocked off by smokes and mollies. And I like the quick pivot to make sure that they don't sit in one place for too long.
All I'm going to say, Ashcon, Ohio Northern blew a 10-2 lead here on Lotus. That's all I'm saying. No more, no less. Spike goes down.
Not ready yet.
Clarke University attempting out this retake. Kang gonna tap the bomb. Marvel shot, shooting one target and then another before Drona's able to tag the other Rays and bring them down to death. Fade, it's shot, trying to get the defuse. It's slowly going down. Drona has the defuse yet. Marvel swinging out, but it's too late. It's another jumping right click, and Clarke University gets on match point.
And I'll tell you what, my classic has never done that. It's not that it doesn't do that,
right?
It's that it's never done that.
Match point, Clarke University. It's the anti-eco as well. It's not like it's not even a bonus round for Cleveland State. They don't really have that much of a chance. They have 4 SMGs, a Guardian, and light shields for everyone. Clarke University should be able to make quick work of this round unless Cleveland State gets a miracle from the Valorant gods. This match probably over soon. This map.
Well, if stunning your own teammate is an indicator of how the map is going, then it looks like it's not going too hot for Cleveland State, as Soup draws first blood right quick, and Zerona goes for their 20th kill over in B main, now to 21. And they're just going to close out the round. They're going to keep going. 1, 2, 3 sprays with the Spectre. Go for the defuse, and that's going to be 13-1 here on Lotus' first map of the series.
Defenders win.
Unbelievable. Ashcon, this was a team that took the beating to everyone. Cleveland State is a team that no matter who they face, they always put up a good fight. Like, you could put them in front of Ohio Northern. Ohio Northern's not going to get away without a fight. They are going to be bloody. They are going to be bruised. They might win, but they are still going to have a bad time. And Clarke University just came out and absolutely threw them in the trash can and slammed the lid into their head several times. It was brutal. Kudos to Clarke University. But enough negative talk for Cleveland State. This is a best of 3. It's only one map. We go to Ascent, which is a map that everybody knows and loves. This is going to be their best chance to win it out, and they likely have a chance at sending it to map 3, which in their best is definitely expected and wanted. If you're not able to do that, then your series is over.
That is true. That is true. And I think that as we go to see whether or not how the rest of the series is going to play out, we will get right into it, but we're going to go ahead and pass it off to a short break, Tucker, because I'm ready to explore exactly what's going to be happening right when we come back. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the MEC Fall 2023. Once again, I'm joined by Tucker, and we're moving in to map number 2.
Yes, we are. Map 1 was not the best we have seen the Vikings perform at. It was a 13-1 in favor of Clarke University, but now we go to the tried and true, one of the quote-unquote boring maps in Valorant. It's Ascent, but everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. And Cleveland State should have a bit of an easier time because the meta's tried and true. The compositions are tried and true. It's broken, it's busted, but it's home. Everyone knows how to play it. So I'm expecting a little bit more competition this time.
Yeah, it is absolutely a lot more stable, and we were talking about how Lotus is very unstable. So when we talk compositions, Jet, KO, Sova, Omen, Killjoy, that is the bread and butter of pretty much every team. Doesn't matter what tier you're talking about. And we do have some rascals, some stragglers who try to do their own thing, but it doesn't really work out often. But what we have seen from the teams here in the MEC is double duelist, and that has been working for especially our top teams. So we'll see if they continue to stick to that trope of theirs, or if they're going to fall back towards the meta as we're going later and later into this bracket run, especially in the lower bracket.
Yeah, this is the last life for these teams. Let's not forget about that. Cleveland State, if they lose this next map, they're done. Clarke University took map 1, and this is their last chance. Vikings need to win out.
Yep, and we'll check out how that's going to be working. Miami, Ohio versus Cornell in parallel to that. So by next week, we know who's going to be playing who. And then, of course, we have the grand finals occurring Saturday and Sunday of next weekend. So you folks definitely don't want to be missing that. But pulling it back to this week, we have to discover who is going to be making their merry way over to the LAN.
Oh, so we do. So it's Ascent, right? We said that this should help out Cleveland State a little bit, but we also need to talk about Clarke University is one of the teams that has established themselves as one of the best teams in the series, or in the conference. Clarke University, they were seeded second going into the playoffs, and they have pretty much stomped their way through everybody with a upset. They take an upset to Briar Cliff in the upper bracket, but now they're right back into that regular season and early playoff season form. So Ascent might be a little bit better for Cleveland State, but the question is, are they going to be able to stop the onslaught of Clarke?
Well, Clarke is definitely a strong team, and we were talking about their regular season standings before, just to bring them back up. And we were talking about differentials this time. Clarke University ended that round robin season with 41 rounds positive, and Cleveland State only 12. Let's do some quick maths. That's a 29 round difference between the two teams. That is 2 whole maps, potentially. So we'll have to see how that reflects. And we have already seen it on Lotus, but now here on Ascent. Well, Clarke University maintaining that meta that we talked about. And Cleveland State, well, they're out here swapping things up. Particularly going for Breach instead of KO and Raze instead of Jet. And those are some interesting picks, I gotta say, Tucker, because it feels like Breach's fault line and his flashes aren't as effective because of how boxy Ascent is. A lot of 90-degree angles funneling into other
Choose
wider
your agent.
spaces. So we'll have to see whether or not Breach can actually be properly used here and integrated. We'll watch for that as the map goes on.
I don't like it. I'm gonna say it right now, Ashkan. I do not like it. I didn't like how they went a single controller on Lotus. I don't like how they're bringing out Breach on Ascent. I understand the Raze play. I feel like she has a higher skill ceiling on a map like Ascent. Jet's tried and true. Anybody can pick up and play her and have a pretty alright time. But Lime has a lot of confidence in themselves, so they play the Raze, which, like I said, very high skill ceiling. There is things that Raze can do that Jet could never dream of doing. But the Breach play, I really do not like that pick.
Right here.
It is definitely controversial, and I'll give you that. And I agree 100% because it's just not... Doesn't seem to be meta, but hey, we'll find out. We'll find out. Maybe Cleveland State's got hands this time around, and they're ready to throw them around. A lot of mid pressure being cooked up here by Clarke University. Though 3 agents, 2 on Cat, 1 in the mid arch. Could this be a pop flash play? Could this be a straight up fight? Who knows? Sully going for something a little cheeky, a little cheesy, but only a little bit of damage there.
Could have been a lot worse. So Clarke University gets away with one now. Also, it does not help that Clarke starts on the defensive side yet again. It's the favorite side on Ascent.
Power down.
1-for-1 trade-off on both sides. Or Cleveland State decides to make their move. They are split up. They have 2 over on the west side of the map. The other 2 pushing over through B. But I believe the call comes out. They want to try their hand at B. Pistol round, feel like it might be a little bit easier to access.
I'm not a big fan of trying to pivot over to B, though, before having broken the turret, right? Because now that it's going to trigger and, you know, Fade is going to be able to see multiple people, it's just going to give a lot of time for Clarke University to come over and shore up their defenses. 40 seconds about left on this clock here, and that's still a lot of time to rotate on back, which they will. But now it just feels like a pendulum moving back and forth
30
the way that
seconds
we're
left.
swapping from A to B back to A.
25 seconds for Cleveland State to work with as well. Smoke dissipates, and Drona catches the information and the head of Marvel. Sully evens us up with a 3 versus 3. Gotta get the spike down pretty quickly though. The shock dart comes out. Fode barely survives with 5 HP. Does not quite connect. Eventually the shock dart does land the frag, but Sully on a 3K, and the ace is still on the table. Gotta watch out for the flank though. You have the KJ coming from tree, which could be the end of this round. The headshot doesn't land, but a couple of body shots do, bringing Fade down to a very low HP. A shot from Ain as well with a double for them with the Ghost close range. Gets the round over to Clarke.
That was pretty tight. That was pretty close, Tucker. That round could have gone either way, and I mean, Hein and Fade just coming together, both low on HP. Now getting to buy up. We're seeing Bulldogs, Stingers, Spectres, the entire spectrum of light buys as we walk into round number 2.
Turn out.
Only 1 sheriff on Cleveland State at the moment anyway. There could buy up, and there could be more pistols at the ready in a second, but right now there's only going to be a sheriff on the field. Meanwhile, Clarke University, they have all the guns that they could want, aside from like the Vandals and the Phantoms, and yeah, we'll get to that in a couple of rounds. They've got the sheriffs, they've got Bulldogs, they've got the Spectres, Stingers, whatever they need to win out this round. It should be a grind. unless Cleveland, this shouldn't be too much of a grind unless Cleveland State put up a big fight, which I mean, last first round they absolutely did. For Sully, absolutely balled out, got 3 kills, but we need to see a little bit more.
Recon bolts to re-clear B main by Clarke University, and I like them taking the space with it as well. Setting up a crossfire with the turret now, moving over to mid. Cleveland State flushing out players on Cad and Bode, dropping this owl drone. Poking and prodding where they can, but Zerona is just going to get rid of Lime right then and there. And Ain is taking up all control of B as the options for Cleveland State begin to fall apart. It's 2 initiators alone in mid by the refrigerator. And it's a killer robot there to clean up the job, Tucker.
3 kills for Kang with the Spectre that round. Good stuff from Clarke University, not dropping a single player. And Drona brings out the big boy operator. Already, it only took 3 rounds, and this is Cleveland State's bonus round as well. That's surprising that they've got it this early.
Here.
Okay, taking their time, doing their due diligence. Cleveland State throwing up that turret, making sure that no fast pushes happen immediately. But the reveal, this is awfully dangerous, especially with Soup pushed all the way in, and Lime goes for the orb, and that's some unfortunate timing. And with that shadow step, Soup is out, leaving Sully alone, and now there's a bit too much pressure to try to go for the orb for themselves. Meanwhile, Revy going for a fight with the fault line, hoping to catch them with the aftershock, but the wall doesn't agree with them. Neither does Kang. Swinging out, getting 1, and Ain all the way across the map, good for another. And it just feels like no matter how Cleveland State choose to place their pieces, Clarke University has an answer for him to pick them off one by one by one.
The last 2 Vikings about to get boxed in. Bode's only 20 HP, sees the head of Soup. Unfortunately, they only have 20 HP. This needs to be a headshot without a body shot landing, or even a leg shot at that point. I believe a Vandal leg shot does more than 20, and it looks like that's what it is. It was a Bulldog, but the point still stands. Marvel gets 2 before they eventually fall to the headshot of Ain, and the Phantom gets that job done. Clarke University win out the bonus, denying Cleveland State, and they push them back to another eco.
I really want to talk about Clarke University's map control. That they are recognizing Cleveland State is struggling without that KO, right? You only have an Owl Drone and a Recon Bolt to work with in Cleveland's comp, and that brings them down so much, not being able to disable Killjoy utility as well.
Revealing area.
And that's really the only reason KO is a part of the event composition in the first place. And trying to force their way in is not going to prove fruitful either, as Fade is good for 2, and their partner in crime, their Sova, will find 2 of their own, and the round just closes right quick. And again, Tucker, this all comes down to the fact that Clarke University, they can put their turret up very deep to spot B main early. They get to work with the KO 0 point to get huge spaces of information and therefore territory to walk up on, because their Jet Zerona has no fear, and their controller Omen is placing those dark covers just right to cut off any initial angles. Lime now pretty much running it down, but Paint Shell's out in hand, opening themselves up to these lines of sights. It's looking a little bit tough, Tucker.
It just gets worse and worse for Cleveland State. Clarke University making quick picks appear out of thin air. It's a 5 versus 4 with Fade pushing up. This could be very dangerous. Sully sprays through. The spray transfer is not good enough. Fade is able to grab 1, but Ain and Kang teaming up with another one going the way of the Phantom of Kane. Once again, headshot and a frag. Another round for Clarke University. That makes 5 in a row. Clarke University still has the 13-0 on the table where Cleveland State will call a timeout. I feel like this is once again needed, but let's not forget. Last map, they called a timeout after losing the first 3, and then they proceeded to lose the next 4.
Yeah, the precedent definitely isn't set well in their favor. I want to talk about the utility that they're just not really taking advantage of. The paint shells, the aftershock, the fault line. It doesn't feel like it's even the shock darts. Tucker, they can shock dart the mollies on B, get rid of the turret that way in a safe manner. The aftershock can be put mid with breach, clearing out pizza or the close arches. The fault line can be sent to the left side of close arch and down into market to stun off any players who go for that angle. Breach has this unique kit where he can clear both sides of a 50-50, and they're not really leveraging that to their advantage. And I feel like missing out on that mid control is exactly what is ruining them, because they know that B main or A main can become Killjoy's domain. So that's what I want to see a lot more of is Breach's maneuverability, Breach's utility being taken full advantage of. Sova's shock darts as well, but for the rest of Cleveland State, it just comes down to being in positions to trade, and you can watch closely that even though they're right next to each other, there's no opportunity for that to happen. Again, Lime disconnected from the rest of the squadron over in A main.
We talked about this before the map got underway, how we had our doubts about just how bad or just how good Breach was going to affect this map. And like you said, we need to see more of Breach's versatility and maneuverability on this map, but Ascent doesn't accent that. There's not much that they can do. There's only going to be a certain level of usefulness that each piece of Breach's utility is going to use. The most useful aspect of Breach's kit right now is that rolling thunder, which is great. It works on every map, but it's an ultimate. Every ultimate should work on every map. The fault line is very situational. There's maybe one spot on this map where it works. The aftershock, it does not work as well as it does on some points. The flashpoint is good, but it is still just a flash. You need more.
Absolutely. I like the way you put it, an upper limit to the usefulness of his utility. Absolutely correct. But there is that rolling thunder that you said is useful everywhere. They're going to use it to at least try to get this round. And Fode unable to find one through the smoke, but Kang good for 2 as they swing out of that dark cover. And
10
Sully,
seconds left.
once again, all alone. Doesn't matter what map it is. And at a certain point, you have to realize that you don't need to be holding the flank, especially on a map like Ascent where the defenders aren't too keen on pushing up mid. If you're just going to execute, you might as well just stick with the team and throw your nanoswarms to clear space, right? A lot of teams forego that because Killjoy serves that function of a default, but Cleveland State, another part of their comp is that it's not well balanced. If Raze and Breach want to execute with Sova, Killjoy is not there with them, and that is not just a restriction of the agent. I think it also comes down to the play style of the player, where you got to get in the range, or you got to get into the server and set up lineups to hit back gen, to hit back dice, to molly off heaven. Again, another function of KO that is lost in this comp, but you can at least shore that one up with Killjoy, and that wasn't accounted for, it seems.
Fade has a headshot as well. The space-making ability of the Duelist is completely gone for Cleveland State. And on the eco, that is ultimately a death sentence. Initiator goes down as well, at least one of them does. Revy has a nice shot, very good idea, holding out in wine and pushing Soup up. Very nice bait. They've got another one as well. Down goes the other initiator of Clarke University, but the Sova is still available. And in comes the Sova with the Hunter's Fury. Has a shot that lands on a Sully and able to end out the frag. That forces Revy to fall back, get the spike down, but the push is already setting.
Last player standing.
Oh, that's a nice little cross there. Zerona does get Revy, but Marvel is
30 seconds left.
right around the corner to trade. 25 seconds. They could run over to B. Well, no, not anymore. Not with 20 seconds, but a couple of seconds ago, they could have made that timing, ulted and planted. 1 HP left in the bar, though. Not looking like a
10 seconds
great
left.
situation here, and you might just want to opt to save.
1 enemy remaining.
It's good for 1. If you swing, could be good for 2 if you hit the timing.
Wow.
Where are we going this time? Remember what worked in the past.
And that's really unfortunate. They died after the round ended. So all of the bonuses that they get for dying during the round, they forego that.
Alarm bot out.
That was actually the worst case scenario for Cleveland State.
Sentry.
Okay, so positive thinking. It is a defender-sided map. Cleveland State still has potential to go into halftime 7-5, which is okay on Ascent. It's statistically the most defender-sided map in the game. You're expected to lose more rounds than you are to win if you are attacking. And sure, Clarke University have won 7 in a row, but Cleveland State has a lot of ults on the board. Out comes the lockdown. This could be something they can use to secure this round out. We saw what happened in the last map. It took quite a few ultimates before they won a round.
Gun here.
You know what, Ashcon? Never mind. They got the lockdown out. They brought it out. They were not able to get a single kill. It's a flawless round for Clarke University. Their lead extends to 8. But we need hope. Hyper, we need hopium. We need the hopium, please.
It does come down to a comp issue, and I've kind of been rambling on about Breach, but it's also a mental, right? You've restricted yourself to this composition, and you have to see it through. And it just feels like Cleveland State, after 5 rounds, they kind of started getting a little bit lazy. We were watching Lime, and still are, seeing him just run in, disjointed from the team, no focus on the timing, not providing anyone an opportunity to trade them out. And then as soon as that disjoint occurs, the rest of the squad doesn't know how to navigate the map together either. As we look at Marvel, not providing an opportunity for Foe to come and help them. Foe with the recon bolt still in their inventory 45 seconds after the round has started. It's these little things that are stacking up into a domino effect where, yes, their comp could use some work and I prefer something else, but it's not that they don't have the tools at all. And there you go, that knife. Again, that's why we love KO, because Kane can now watch the flank and we can turn it into a high-low. Boat is good for 1, but are they going to find Ain 2? There we go. Recon bolt finally does come out from both sides as well. The pressure is on. What are you going to do about it? Nothing, because Fade has an Odin and they're going to spray you with it.
No, Cornell College might not be in the season anymore, but Banthanor lives on with Fade. Oh, no, wait, Cornell plays next. Oh, I thought of something else. My fault.
Placing
My fault.
alarm bot.
Yeah, so
It's like one of those,
sorry about that. I got confused. I thought Cornell got eliminated last week, but no, they're still here. Cornell's still here. Panthanor will be proud. Hopefully they can use that to a bit of their, I guess, advantage. They saw their baby get used in the last match. Maybe they can use it in their match as well. Oh my goodness. Round 10 gets started off with Drona bringing out the Bladestorm and taking down the Sentinel immediately. Cleveland State has a red carpet to a site, but the retakes of Clarke University have been so potent that it might not even matter. In comes the flank by Drona. This time, though, it's the headshot from Marvel. Lockdown on the defender side this time around. This has to be a fallback. There's no way they can push through this. Lime has a headshot, but the flank is still underway. And with just a couple of seconds before it goes, everyone gets detained. And it's the knife. It's the flash. It's the double knife from Fade, and it's double digits for Clarke University.
Placing sentry.
That's just disrespectful. I'm just going to call it as it is, Tucker. That KO flash and the knife on top of it was just straight up Clarke University flexing. Just absolutely. They're just bringing the ego into it. I mean, hey, 10-0, yeah, sure, you get a little big-headed, but if Cleveland State snap themselves out of the mental rut, that could be their downfall. Anyways, mid control. Cleveland State have been giving it up. Even when they walk mid, they just walk onto the site. They're not spacing out their agents and holding out angles farther away. Once given space, they just hold on to it. Oh, once again, caught with the paint shells being pulled out. Maybe it is back to Jet for Cleveland State, because I think we've watched about half a dozen kills against the line where they try to use the paint shells, and it just doesn't work out in their favor.
What I need to know is how did that showstopper not kill?
Not ready yet. Cover going out.
Yeah, that's also a good question. I did see where that landed too.
That was insane.
Remaining.
2 versus 2. Cleveland State has a chance to win this out. It's a 1 versus 2 for Fade, and down drops the Odin. The shots don't land. Fade's still alive. It swings around, and they get the kill anyway.
No.
Headshot with the Odin. 30 HP left on the clutch, and Clarke stays perfect. Unbelievable.
Oh, my genius.
That should be illegal.
Last
That is,
round in the half.
And again, the lack of confidence playing in there too, because neither side of Cleveland State wanted to peek for the other first and just take the double swing. And I get that is a bit hard considering their position at Dice and Generator in a bit of an awkward angle, but it just takes one of them to kind of start running, making the noise, and they can coordinate that. Unfortunate. I'm just going to assume that Cleveland State's Omen did not have the paranoia. So we're going to let that one go as we move into round number 12, where first blood goes towards Cleveland State, and this is the first time in a long time that they begin with an advantage.
Gotta ride this out.
Recalling my boss.
There's still the chance to win a round on attack. They need to get this one. It's 11-0 right now. If they get 3 more kills, they will have a 1-11 scoreline, which we saw that on Lotus. We expected a little bit better on Ascent, but honestly, we might not even get it with Soup and Fade teaming up, landing more kills. And the round started off with Cleveland State in the advantage. That has been completely negated. It's a 3 versus 2 in favor of CU. The spike is going to get planted. There is still the Hunter's Fury alive and ready for Cleveland State.
Last player
But
standing.
Clarke University is rapidly pushing in. There's 1 for Soup. It's a 1 versus 3. Foe turns into a 1 versus 2. Gets it down 1 more, but this headshot needs to land. It's all around. They make a bullet outline of KJ, but they can't land the shot. So Foe gets up and gets put down. Clarke University go into halftime with a 12-0 scoreline, match point, and series point.
Well, on the bright side, you can't bring an Odin to the next
Switching
pistol round.
sides. Match point.
Oh, almost done? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's the pistol. Ashcon, let's talk about this. We got 30 seconds. This is the pistol round yet again. Clarke University won the first 12 rounds in a row. They have not lost a round of Valorant in about an hour, give or take. Maybe around 45 minutes. Clarke University have steamrolled their way through the defensive half, and now Cleveland State gets on the defense. They need to win 12 in a row and then 2 more for overtime. 14 rounds of Valorant in a row.
I was about to say, here's those lineups we were talking about, but I don't think the KO knife was supposed to go wherever it landed right in front. But that Sova dart did hit. Cleveland State doing a good job of holding down the fort. Clarke University with only Zerona, and now nobody. It's a ghost town. 12-1. This could be the opportunity to turn it around. You only need 11 rounds. I've seen it done before. It's not easy. You know, it's not something that anyone enjoys doing, but when it is done, now that is something worth celebrating. So we'll have to see round number 2, but Clarke University having rounds to burn, they can also force up, which seems to be their chosen option because a lot of wiggle room means that you can go ahead and take risks. And if Clarke University isn't a team to take risks, then I don't know who is.
Their biggest challenge is going to be the bonus round. That's where Clarke University is going to have the advantage, and that's where Cleveland State are going to have to play perfect. But if they can get through that bonus round, I feel like they might have a chance. The B hit's coming. It's hitting hard. Sully only able to grab one. They wanted a little more, but Ain is going to shut the chance of that down. Revy swings out. It's Lime to grab that first kill. They team up. It's hard to shoot 2 targets at once. The retake's coming in. You have to watch out for the player in main, but it looks like they've figured him out. Paranoia comes out. Soup gets 2. Left up in the 1 versus 2 is Marvel. There's 37 HP in there ready. They bring out the Shadow Step. They need to win this out. They have the Spectre. They don't have any shield, and they don't have any more options. That is it. 13-1 final score. Cleveland State season is over.
Wow. Talk about a riveting series when it comes to Clarke University just really wanting to take things home. And they, I mean, when you want to talk over performance, you want to talk business, they brought the profits. They came in 13-1, 13-1. And Tucker, I got to put it bluntly, and I have to say it directly, they wanted it more.
They really did. It's hard to combat a team that simply wants it more. They took that last loss personally against Briarcliff and went all the way to map 3. It was a nail biter of a series, like I said a little bit earlier. They took it personally, and they want to prove that they belong in the grand final. So they have every intent to steamroll their way through the lower bracket and bring the pain to whoever wins, whether it's Ohio Northern or Briarcliff, whether it's the revenge game in the bracket, or if it's the top dog of the bracket. It's all going to depend on just how well this next couple of games goes. But let's get back to talk about the present. Clarke University, they advance on. They move past the lower quarterfinals. Unfortunately for the Vikings, they are done. They took a swift 2-0, and their season is over. Congrats to Clarke University. Big GGs to Cleveland State. They played their hearts out throughout the season, and they were one of the most riveting teams to watch in the entire MEC.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to Cornell College versus Miami University with the wonderful Captain Atsoka and beautiful Crow. But if I'm lying to you and we have an interview, you're going to see our handsome faces one more time once again. Regardless, stay tuned because more Valorant action is coming your way.
Hey everybody, welcome back to MEC, the Midwest Esports Conference. I'm Beautiful Crow, joined with Captain Atsoka, and we also got Fade from the Victoria squad today. A 2-0. A pretty dominant 2-0. First of all, congratulations to you guys in that regard. How are you feeling after this win? I mean, was it expected result, or did y'all surprise yourself?
Yeah, I'd say it was pretty expected. We kind of went into the game knowing what to do. We had our plans. Made some switches. I usually play initiator, but I switched to Sentinel this past few games, so it's been working out pretty well for us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, after this one, of course, you're gonna be moving on even further. I got to tell you, I mean, who do you think is your top competition moving along in the bracket?
Top competition, I say definitely BCU, and then was it Miami, Ohio? ONU.
I was about to say, don't sleep on Miami, Ohio. They're going to be playing next, and they're pretty much the sleeper team so far in the postseason again. But I wanted to continue to ask you. We already heard your top competition. I gotta ask. What are you expecting if you do get this grudge match against BCU? I know y'all got some history there.
We're just gonna go in there, play with confidence. I think the last time we played them, which we lost, I'm pretty sure. We kind of played down to their level, I feel like. And I think whenever we do play them next, I think we're going to definitely try to play at our level, play our game.
Okay, okay, I like that. You know, yeah, calling it out. I see it, getting that good salty run back. I mean, it's there. It's definitely a possibility. I mean, we just have to see if Briarcliff doesn't slip up against ONU, you know? But yeah,
Yeah.
that matchup's coming up in the forward. But yeah, making this lower bracket run, I always like to ask, so you do get that second chance, you know? Like you and Briarcliff had it was a 2-1. It was a very close matchup. Getting that second chance into this lower bracket, what was the mindset coming into it? Because it's putting you so far through losers round 2. So like coming into it, what is that mindset when you fall to the lower bracket, trying to make it back all the way to grand finals?
I think the mindset going into the game was just like dominate, just go out there and just kill. I think we're pretty like, I guess, mad about how we lost to VCU, so we just like we gotta dominate.
Definitely get that. And well, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on the victory. But yeah, make that run. Grand finals, it's so close. You're almost there, but congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
Love competition so much. But yeah, that was Fade from the victorious Clarke University squad. 2-0 over Cleveland State University. So we'll be pushing them on further. Everyone trying to get to that grand finals, a LAN weekend